And Scott, we've known you for quite a few years now, coming up here to the Solbakkens. How long have you been here?
I've worked at the lodge for be 19 years come October.
Wow, wow. And before that, were you down in the cities, or were you up here on the shore somewhere?
I moved up here in 1978.
Oh, really?
So my previous jobs had been Cascade Lodge, various places up on the ski hill, and a canoe guide back in the 80s for a little while.
Okay.
Odd job, like crazy.
But then you got on with Bill and Beth, and
Yes.
and have been here ever since, which has been great because
Yeah, it's a good fit.
you have lots of people who come back year after year and fall in love with this place.
Yeah, very loyal clientele.
Did the lake have anything to do with getting you up here in this part of the country?
It did. I like to always say my first trip up here was when my mom was 7 months pregnant, which is true.
That's great.
My parents honeymooned up here, and from the time I was an infant, we'd come up for 2 weekends every year at a resort called Stonewall down by Castle Danger, run by Mr. Stone, a retired Norwegian fisherman
Oh, really?
from the old country, and this was, of course, back in the... I go back to the 50s,
Okay.
so this was in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s. So I grew up coming up to the North Shore at least twice a year my whole life. And then when I became old enough to drive, I would come up on my own and take trips to Isle Royal.
Oh, really?
I got a good taste of the big lake by taking the boat across.
Oh, yeah, really?
So the lake was a huge draw when I had an opportunity to work up here in the summer in 1977.
Okay. And in recent years, I don't know, when was it that you started with your photography work?
Yes, I suppose technically it goes back to the late 70s, but as far as being serious about it and making some money with it, with my wedding and portrait photography and stock photography, early 90s.
Okay. Do you have some postcards that are sold locally with images too?
A few postcards. I haven't pursued that too much. Did more stock photography back in the day when film was the only thing to shoot, and I think I had somewhat of a monopoly on that.
Yeah.
I think in the digital age maybe it's a little bit different, but what I've pursued is wedding and portrait and senior class pictures, and we do lots of outdoor weddings.
And I would guess, I mean, I remember we've seen you, where was it? It was at Cascade, I think, one time when you were coming down the trail, you were doing some wedding pictures there.
Oh yes, I remember
along
that
the river.
now. We got you in a picture.
Yeah, I think so.
That's right.
But the lake must be part of the photography too. I'm sure a lot of people want that.
Oh, absolutely.
With their images.
Yeah, my wife and I, Brenda, when we do a wedding, even if it's an inside church wedding, we try to gravitate them towards the shore for wedding party photos. And I'd say 9 times out of 10 we're able to do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just get married right outside anyway, which makes the whole thing quite easy.
Right, right. So when people come up here the first time, do they have kind of a common reaction to seeing the lake and being out here?
Yeah, a lot of times, if they consider this, way off the beaten track. I consider this home, so it doesn't, it's wild, but I don't consider it
Wilderness.
A lot of people do, and that's fine because it's such a big change of pace for the folks that come up from the cities. And I get a lot of questions about the lake, especially when people come up here in the wintertime, it seems. Does it freeze? How much ice does it get? How big do the waves get? Where can I go rock hunting? Where's a piece of shoreline where I can just walk for miles?
Yeah, that's kind of hard to find up here, isn't it?
It is. It is. I direct them towards Cascade for the longer stretches of Paradise Beach. But
right. That's what we came down that rock coastline at Cascade this morning. It's one of our favorite walking areas. I guess, how the lake changes every day, that's what I hear a lot of people saying, what they love about it is it's never the same. And are there any particular times you remember being here that wilderness with trucks going by? Any particular storms that you recall seeing on the lake that really impressed you?
I think it was maybe 3 winters ago. We just had lots of shore ice. Extended out maybe a mile.
Wow.
It didn't last very long. It broke up. But the winds came from across the lake. Must have been for at least a day or two. And there was ice mounds out in front of our cabins, literally 20 feet high.
Wow.
Just pieces of jagged, broken ice just jammed up together, so it was basically almost a solid mass. I mean, you could, because I walked on it.
Really?
And then seeing the waves crash on that ice barrier with the spray going over the top of the 20-foot ice walls.
Oh, man.
That was the most impressive.
I'd love to have seen that.
And that was,
Did it take a while for the winds or the warm temperatures to break that up and move it out?
weeks later, there was still various remnants where ice would just glom onto a piece of rock and just stay there. So yeah, it wasn't one of these things that was in and out. That piled up and that stayed for weeks.
Well, the thing that I have loved coming to Solbakkens, and people should know that there's, what, 4 cabins or 5?
We got 6 cabins right on the shoreline.
Yeah, and then the motel unit. But the little cabins on the shore, and at any time of the year you can come out here and watch the change in the lake, and it's just amazing. And I think I, in some ways, prefer the winter because the sound of the ice when there is ice, and just watching it flow down the shoreline. It's really incredible. I envy you the chance to watch that day in and day out.
I never take it for granted. My wife and I live inland, up the Caribou Trail, about 3.5, 4 miles. So I love living inland, but I love coming to the lake every day to work. So I think I have the best of both worlds.
I think you do. Well, you'll see more of us in the years ahead for sure.
That's right. Glad that you can come up here in semi-retirement.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to say retirement because you got lots to do. But
yeah,
come up as guest anytime.
Well, thanks a lot, Scott, and hopefully it's another good fall season.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right.